This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free. He goes to get wide. Edge of the box. Paulina! Great goal! What a hit from Paulina! It's wide! They've only gone and done it again! Forest back in the lead! Rewarded Gibbs White! Oh, what he scores! And the City ground goes ballistic!
Hello and welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent as Forest beat Spurs 1-0 to secure a fourth straight win in the league, the first time that has happened since 1995 and a first league win over Spurs since 1997, leaving the Reds temporarily third before Arsenal kick off later today as we record this. Joining me are the usual motley crew of Reece Lane, Christian Brown and Lee Clark. Happy Christmas, chaps. Who thought at the start of the season would be sitting here talking about being firmly in Champions League places? I'll start with yourself, Lee Clark.
Well, I don't think anyone thought we were going to be third, did we? I think we all expected to progress, but certainly not to the extent we have at this stage. Obviously, we've got Everton to play, and then we've got everyone else to play again, haven't we? So, you know, there's... I just want to temper the expectations a little bit. I think clearly they've shifted from the start of the season. I think if we were to finish sort of bottom half from this stage, it would be, as mental as it sounds, it would probably be a disappointing second half of the season, wouldn't it? So, yeah, I've still got my feet firmly on the ground, but I can't lie, I am dreaming of these random European games a little bit. Yeah.
Christian, first of all, great Christmas jumper. I rate that very highly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I managed to pick it up.
At the start of December, I think we looked up. I think every Forest fan and every podcast and everyone has looked at December and gone, "That's going to be really, really tricky." And we've won 4 games out of 5 or whatever it's been in December. I can't remember now. Maybe it's been a bit of a mad one, really.
I think Nuno about for manager of the month, even despite the obligatory Forest performance, which came against Manchester City. But it's been pretty special. I mean, I think we all said before. I mean, we looked at December before a ball was kicked, and we all thought, "Good Lord, if we can get even 5 points from that, that'll be a pretty good return, really, given who we've got to play against." And here we are with 12. Competing with Spurs, Villa, Brentford, and United away. It's incredible. It's just you don't really want the right to stop, do you?
Definitely not. I mean, Reece, continuing the form of Elanga and a Nico Williams shirt in the background today. Two players have come right into form recently, but it's 8 and 11 wins, which is what? That's title challenging form, you'd say. I mean, what the heck is happening at our club?
You just coming out of the ground and floating on air, aren't you? Man, it is crazy. I mean, you have to. I mean, everyone's enjoying it, aren't you? But then it gets to, as we tick into that second half of the season, and we're still hopefully in this position, and it gets a bit serious. Are we actually going to get in Europe? And then it's going to be actually, what competition could we find ourselves in? So, I mean, we're going to finish the. Something I said a few weeks back on the pod is that if we was in the top 10 by the halfway stage, which is obviously after Everton on whatever day it is, because I've forgot the days now, but I said that'd be a great achievement, and we're going to be in the top 4 guaranteed after Everton, whatever happens at Everton. So, yeah, that is ridiculous, I must say.
Are we allowed to stop the league right now? That'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean,
No,
you say what competition we're going to qualify. We're going to qualify for the Super League at this rate. So look at the Champions League. We're back in that in the elite. I mean, I was asking the referee for where's our Big Six bias yesterday multiple times because we are in there now. Leader, but I'm going to start with yourself. Nuno is doing it again with his tactical kind of tinkering. He went back to the 4-2-3-1 with Nico Dominguez obviously missing out completely because of suspension. I know he didn't start last week, but Ryan Yates come back in to partner Elliot Anderson in central midfield. Morato coming out of the starting 11. What did you make of that team? Did you think it was quite bold to go against Spurs toe-to-toe? I know, considering they had a lot of issues in their back line, did you still think it was brave of Nuno to kind of say to Spurs, well, we're going to go at you and we're going to have a right good go?
Not really. I genuinely think the 3 that he went with at the back against Brentford was literally just to stifle Brentford. I think Nuno's kind of showing that when we play at home, he's happy to go with what he feels is the best system. And I think he thinks that's the 4-2-3-1. So I wasn't really surprised. I also think as well we know that Tottenham are pretty decent still going forward, as much as we kind of like to mock them for their lack of squad depth a little bit and their haphazard approach to defending under a certain Australian. So yeah, I think you look at their team on paper going forward and it's still very dangerous. So I think having someone like Yates in there in theory, I think Nuno probably just thought that, there's that added element of steel to kind of stop them creating as many chances as they have done against some of the better teams in the league, to be fair. So yeah, wasn't really surprised. And obviously it worked again. So
yeah, Christian, a very to and fro game to start with. I thought the early booking from Yates was a bit worrying because obviously Kulusevski's a very good player in playing in the hole. They've got quick players coming from left, right, and centre with Udogie and Jed Spence being inverted. But I thought it was a great save from Matt Sells from Brennan Johnson early on. And then Nico actually ended up winning that battle, I think, quite early doors, to be honest. What did you make of the start of the game, first of all?
Yeah, it was pretty obvious Spurs are going to play the way it's who they are, isn't it? As a certain Australian manager says. We all knew that was going to happen, and they were quite grateful they did, really, because they just became very easy to play against. It for all their it was weird because I actually thought we'd get a lot more out of the game than we did before the ball was kicked, but the way we play, it was like one will be enough against you, fine. And when it's all well and good like them having 75-80% possession, but it was mostly in areas that weren't really hurting us, so just knocking it around. Forest shape was rock solid. I was actually thinking, to be fair, during the game, I would absolutely hate to play against that Forest defence, because there's just nowhere to go. The lanes are cut off so quickly. You can't really move the ball because you can only really just pass it around the back and then try and find the way through, which Spurs couldn't. So yeah, it was really nice, to be fair. I didn't think Forest had to be that good to get anything out of the game yesterday, but as for the start of the game, it went as expected. And as you said, Johnson didn't really seem to want it yesterday, if I'm being perfectly honest. I thought that he was mostly just shying away. I mean, there's that clip, isn't there, that's gone viral of him sort of shying out of that chance to run down the right and sort of get ahead of his Neko. He just sort of stops. I just didn't really think he seemed that sort of bothered by it, which suggests the issues at Spurs maybe run a bit deeper than we think. But no, I was fine. I felt, as Boxing Day went, it didn't seem like we had too many Christmas hangovers. Some of the passing was a little off. Obviously, that Yates tackle was a little bit mistimed, but by and large, after that first 10-15 minute period, Forest just sort of grew into the game quite a bit, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think as soon as we settled, I think we got right into it, and a great tackle on the edge of our box. Reece unleashed Morgan Gibbs-White to thread a ball to Anthony Elanga, and the lad can't seem to stop scoring now since. And I think it's all 3 goals are very similar in terms of he's not had time to think about it. He's just go and do it, and he's delivered.
Yeah, partly. I mean, like you said, Adam, it starts with Nico Williams winning the ball back on the edge of our box, and then there's a lovely little flick from Yates which flicks it round the corner for Gibbs-White, and that allows Gibbs-White to get away, because as we saw yesterday, Tottenham just obviously bang everybody forward, don't they? And when you can turn it over against them, that is the moment you have to strike. And I mean, Gibbs-White's allowed to carry it a long time. I actually thought he delayed it a little bit too long at first, and when he put it through, the ball was superb. I actually had a part of me thought Elanga was offside, but Elanga goes through, he just touches it past Forster, little deft touch until it's in the net, and thankfully, it's timed to perfection. A superb run as well from Elanga, which he does a lot more than people notice. Even during his barren spell, he was running, and that's why I defended him on this podcast, because I could see him making the runs, trying to make things happen for himself. And those who did stick behind him are duly being rewarded, because it's 3-3 now. and all of a sudden have come away from this. Oh, his head's been turned, this, and he's become a pivotal player for us again. I think I seen a stats guy put up on Twitter yesterday. It's 19 goals and assists since he joined us in the Premier League, which for 15 million, I think it's money well spent, isn't it, really? So he's a typical winger, like I said. He's going to go through, I think Lee mentioned it, like peaks and troughs. You've seen it. Brennan Johnson had a real good peak on in the season. Now he's going through a little bit of a trough. It happens with young players and wingers. You know, apart from probably the elites, your Salahs, your Sakas, it's going to happen. So I'm delighted he's come into form, and I'm just annoyed at myself that I ummed and ahed about putting him in the FPL and chose bloody Phil Foden instead. But and Luis Diaz as well, who didn't even get on last night. So, but yeah, lovely worked goal. I mean, I thought Gibbs White was really good yesterday, to be honest, and that summed it up. Through the eye of a needle, superb.
Yeah, I mean, three goals in his last 3 games. He's become our second top scorer overnight, pretty much, it seems, and it's quite funny. But I thought that the rest of the first half kind of petered out. I thought, I mean, it was one thing I had a bit of a gripe with was Anderson's tackle on the edge of our box, which gave himself a yellow card, and it was a bit needless. But then second half started, and I thought, Johnson made Sells pull off actually another good save at the end of the first half, didn't he? It was a really good reactive save to his right hand side, and Johnson had his head in his hands, which made me think it was closer. Made me closer than it was. But I was
really bigging that save up on Match of Day. Said how good it was.
I watched it.
It was obviously had to dive into it a bit of an angle. He said it to get a lot of power and push it over. He said it was really good.
Oh, that one. So I thought you meant the one in the second half of the corner.
We're on about the one in front of the Trent.
Aren't we? Yeah. But then I think second half, I thought at the start of it, Forest actually really dominated Lee, and we were really unlucky probably not to add a second goal. I think Fraser Forster pulled off 2 decent saves, to be fair to him. One with the punch, and then one kind of making him big in front of Morgan Gibbs White, and then we just couldn't seem to get the ball in the net, and miss kicking the ball all the time, which is a bit unlike us because we're quite efficient when we get chances, it seems.
Yeah, I think the best one was Aina, wasn't it? He did everything right. He was watching it out of the sky, and I thought, he's only got to get this on target, and I didn't anticipate that by getting on target, he might kind of daisy cut it through to Forster. But yeah, that was the one for me where I just presumed it was going to be 2-0. The one where he came and punched as well, I don't know how it didn't end up in the net at some point in that. It was like 4 quick chances, weren't they? But yeah, we were so comfortable after half time. I think that's, touch wood. I'm not saying it's not going to happen again, but one thing that we had to become accustomed to under the previous regime and when we were finding our feet as a Premier League club was that just after half time and just before half time, there was always a strong possibility that we might switch off and concede. Whereas I think we've now got a manager who recognises that we don't want to be that sort of team. We've also got players on the pitch that help with that when it comes to making sure the team's, completely prepared just after half time. So, yeah, it was good to see us play a team. That was the strange thing about Tottenham for me. They never had that period where they were literally firing in and Sells was making save after save. Yeah, they had their few chances in the first half, admittedly, but when they were chasing the game and they were 1-0 down, it never came. It was like they'd thrown the towel in a little bit. And I said to some friends who I watched the game with, I said, this performance from a Spurs perspective is a sackable offence because it just looked like they gave up. They had no ideas. It was like they were just fed up with what they were being asked to do. And yeah, it was a surprise, but a pleasant one that Tottenham never really turned the screw like I anticipated they might do.
Is that a credit to us, though, as how we set up and how Nuno has the team organised as well, though?
It is, but I still think, as a Tottenham fan, Tottenham will see their squad as being better than ours. That's just how they'll think. They're more established. They're a bigger football club in the modern game, is what I mean, before any of the dads come at me saying they're not a bigger club, they haven't won Europe. What I mean, in the modern status of the game, they're a bigger football club than us. Like we said when Johnson went there and people were saying, why has he gone there? They're not bigger than Forest. They clearly are in the grand scheme of things. So I think their fans who travelled yesterday would have gone 1-0 down. And yeah, okay, our league position is pretty high this season and we're playing well. we're getting rave reviews, and rightly so. But I still think as a Tottenham fan, you'll expect that 15, 20-minute spell where the likes of Maddison come on, and you've got the other players up there, Kulusevski, you've got Son, who I thought was dreadful yesterday, by the way. And yeah, you've got all these players, and you must anticipate as a club like Tottenham that you're going to have that little push to try and get it back into the game. And it just never came. It is testament to us. We did a bit of a number on them. But I just think with the quality they have got at their disposal, as fans, they've got to be expecting better than that.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Christian, I mean, I think the only notable chance that Spurs had was Johnson seemed to have all their chances. Yeah, I thought he got pocketed by Nico Williams, funny enough. But yeah, I mean, credit to Johnson, he takes the ball down brilliantly to beat Murillo in terms of a bit of a goal mouth scramble. But Sells has been a bit magnificent this season. He's pulled off an absolute worldie there, in my opinion. I mean, not many people might agree with that, but I thought it was that's where a keeper earns you some points.
Yeah, don't want to do too much of discredit to Sells, but I actually thought it was there was how to say this politely. I don't think it's particularly outstanding goalkeeping to say that. It was literally straight out from meter. It was a shocking finish from Johnson. He does everything right in the build-up, obviously by mugging Murillo and negging Murillo, and going in for it on goal. But Sells comes out very quick off his line. I think that's the important thing. And he puts himself into that position where there's nowhere to aim at really for Johnson, but Johnson's finish is really, really bad. The best save Sells made was that one from Johnson in the first half, which he tipped over the bar. That was outstanding. That really did. That I thought that was going straight to the top corner. So he did incredibly well to stop that. I'm glad Joe Hart obviously highlighted that match today as well. But yeah, the second one, it was one of those in the ground that looks like amazing. I was like, oh my God, how Sells kept that out. But when I watched it back, I was like, oh my God, it's like, how's he finished so poorly there? So yeah, there's no receipts, Spurs fans, I'm afraid. And Lee's right. I mean, talking about Spurs fans in general, like there's a few down here as well where I live, and they're in a similar boat. Like they're sort of like, they can't really believe what they're seeing at the minute from their team, and I'm just so glad that we could put them in a position where we made it so difficult for them to move the ball. I think so many people said as well that if all these like high scoring games with Spurs, and before yesterday they were the top scorers in the league with 38 goals before Liverpool scored 3 at Anfield. Like if you play the way Ange wants them to play, then you'll get these ding-dong classics and they'll score lots of goals. But if you actually put a defensive display in, they don't really do anything. And that's what happened yesterday. And that was one of the best defensive displays you'll see from Forest. I thought, while we might have been average in other parts, defensively we were outstanding yesterday.
Yeah. Reece, does it slightly annoy you that we didn't test Spurs' backline a little bit more? Because there was ample opportunity on the counter for us to test Archie Gray and Dragerson, who I thought, Dragerson, I mean, I don't even think he gets on our bench. If I'm honest, he doesn't look that great for 25 million from Genoa as a backup centre half. But does it slightly annoy you that we didn't test them a little bit more and test Fraser Forster in goal? I don't really remember us having really any kind of efforts where you thought he's had to actually make a save there.
You could say that if you're being greedy, but not really, because we won the game. That's all we needed to do. If we'd have drawn 0-0 and probably had the same amount of chances yesterday, I'd probably be like, yeah, we could have tested a bit more, but we won the game, mate. I said that if we kept a clean sheet, we'd beat Spurs yesterday. And that is Nuno's style of management, is build from the back, keep a clean sheet, you've got chances of winning football matches. And that's exactly what we did yesterday. We beat Palace 1-0 now. We beat Southampton 1-0. We beat Ipswich 1-0. I'm sure there might be someone else in there. Liverpool. I could have forget that.
Disgrace.
And it goes back. This is what Billy Davis in his first spell built that playoff charge on 1-0 wins at home, solid at the back, get that goal, and you take it every day of the week, especially at this level. I agree with the guys. I'm not going to go too much into Spurs because, to be honest, I don't give a toss about how they play. Everything the little things they chucked at us, we defended it. Once Morato comes on and we go into that 5 at the back or 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it, you just feel like reassured, don't you? And it shows really the progress that Dom Solanke came to the City ground last year and scored a hat-trick. Yesterday didn't get a kick. So that just shows you the progress at the defence and what Nuno's done. And yeah, if we continue to win games 1-0 every week and we only have a couple of meaningful attempts, take it every day of the week for me.
I mean, it's. I think Nick Campbell said it the other week about Morata. He's the closer, isn't he? Like he comes on and you kind of go, "Yeah, that's it. We're done and dusted now." That's zero space.
You just look at them three, and they just look horrible to play against. Milenkovic and Morata are the kind of typical, brute of a centre half, physical, head and kick. Whereas Murillo's kind of got that bit extra into. But again, Joe Hart mentioned this on Match Day. Murillo loves a physical battle, and he actually said, Joe Hart, that Murillo knew early doors that he could manage Solanke for physicality, and that's probably why I didn't get a kick yesterday. So we've got that perfect balance, haven't we, at the back? And whoever decided to go and sign Milenkovic, yeah, definitely earned their pay in the summer.
Statue for them as well. Little word on Jed Spence quickly, Reece, before we move on. I mean, getting sent off, coming back to the City ground, actually getting a start for Spurs for once. A bit misunfortunate from his perspective. I thought Jota made a massive meal of it, but equally Spence can't lunge in there on a yellow card and expect to get away with it, really.
Yeah, it's probably frustration. I thought him and Johnson's performance for two guys coming back was one of both of them with frustration. You obviously saw that by one of Johnson's tackles, very lucky to not get carded. Obviously, Spence got carded for petulance, chucking the ball down, whilst Maddison thought he was getting booked because he was on the floor. And then the second one, Jota Silva's just got away from him and he just brought him down. And it's a cheap one, but if he isn't on a yellow, it's probably a yellow card. So, fair play to the referee. And actually, to be fair, I think there was about a minute left at that stage. That killed any momentum for them to chuck it forward again. And we actually, I think, kept the ball for that last minute. So thanks, Jed.
Definitely. I mean, great atmosphere as well yesterday, as the mist properly rolled in off the Trent yesterday. But we are going to get into your slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
Okay, so snowboard Pete Merry Redsmus pre-season. We said December was going to be very tough. It's been brilliant. What a great quick break for the goal. But the back line deserved the clean sheet, each one blocking everything. Milenkovic is just phenomenal. Special shout out to Cammy. Premier Elliott, Matt Sells in the middle of our misty goal, made excellent saves, and as always, Murillo was a delight to watch. Hope all on the pod and the viewers had a lovely Christmas. You too, Elliott. And today's fact is that right at the southernmost point of Sweden, you will find a statue of Uma Thurman's naked granny. I mean, I'm not sure if anyone wants to see that, to be honest. Grant Fellows, we weren't quite at the levels of last week, but still won fairly comfortably. The defence themselves are so good currently. We really need a goal to take the 3 points. Liverpool currently straining to get a result against Leicester. This was obviously at the point of they were losing or drawing, maybe. Title challenge, maybe. Jeff Rowe, pleased with the result, obviously. Thought it was a very end-to-end game, mainly due to the sloppiness from both sides. Neither team really dominated. Happy for Elanga with his recent form. Wanted to state the obvious. The Spurs fans were the worst set of fans at the City ground this season. Binnett just got back to London. Would I be greedy to say we could have won by more? Frank the Tank, the football gods are smiling on us again after they abandoned us for so long. Carl Booth, organised in defence, confident in attack and great togetherness and the team spirit. It's not a great start, it's a great season. Yet again to a man superb. Yates rattling fan bases again and Elanga scoring again. Will this last? I bloody hope so. Murillo is God. Cape are not in function. I'm still annoyed we lost to Man City. Sells man of the match. Yes, I am as well, weirdly enough. And then last of all is Ben. Almost rolling in from the Trent. First time in years at City ground on Boxing Day and well worth the wait. There is not a more complete back four in the Prem right now. Could spend all evening searching Yates into Twitter. He must start in the reverse fixture for that reason alone. Thank you very much for everyone getting in touch. I'm just going to read what a friend of the pod, Danny Wetton, said. This is more towards you, Reece. San Siro and Bernabeu away next year, chaps. Reece, I'm sure you could sort some sort of European deliveries out. We can all pack into the back of a Luton van for cheap travel. Merry Christmas.
I'm driving in Europe, mate, especially Italy.
I know, they're all lunatics over there in Italy. Just to say thank you very much for everyone joining us. We've got 89 people in here currently. Bloody Nora must Must be not a lot to do on a Friday afternoon, apart from eating turkey sandwiches or turkey curries or whatever leftovers still from Boxing Day buffets and whatnot. Lee, I'm going to start with yourself for player performances. I'm going to give you Nico Williams, who I thought has been tremendous since he's come in for Alex Moreno.
Yeah, outstanding. He's far better at left back than he's ever been at right back. I'll be totally honest.
He has,
which is very strange. I don't know what it is. I did have a bit of a theory yesterday. I don't know if it's accurate. Obviously, the modern day winger tends to favour the foot that they can cut inside on. I wonder if that just gives Williams a little bit longer to kind of suss out what his man's going to do playing left back. So, yeah, he was really good. Tough assignment against Johnson as well, because obviously we saw when Johnson played for us just how dangerous he can be if he gets the right service in behind. But yeah, from the moment he wiped him out on the halfway line, I think that was him saying, "You're not getting a kick today." I thought it was quite amusing actually that when Williams did it to Johnson, and probably should have been cautioned, Johnson kind of stayed down, and I don't know, from that moment I just got the feeling that Johnson wouldn't fancy it after that. And he didn't. And then when Johnson went and got retribution a little bit on Williams and also didn't get carded, at least the ref was consistent with those two things. Williams kind of went to go and hold something and maybe do what Johnson did, and then just thought, "Nah, just get back up." Which, yeah, I thought that was good. But yeah, he's another player. I've said it before about other players that when they do get the chance, to play, he's come in and held the position, comfortably. So that's all you can ask. You don't want players that are sulking, and when they do get a chance, they're not ready. You just want someone to, if they come in, they're ready, and they want to show to the manager that they want to stay in the team. And at the minute, we've got a player as good as Alex Moreno who can't wrestle him out the side at the minute. So yeah, it's great that we've got all these players kind of chomping at the bit to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I like about Nico is he's technically very good on the ball and he'll keep it. And also he can be aggressive when he wants to. Sometimes he's a little bit erratic. He did dive in a couple of times I saw yesterday when I was a bit like, can you stay on your feet a little bit better? But for him to start the move off for the goal, winning it on the edge of our box because he's followed Spence all that way and putting a real firm challenge on him, I just think, yeah, he's really took the mantle off Alex Moreno and carried that on, thankfully. And we've not seen anything to say, oh, Moreno should be coming back in as such, and it's great for the squad and it's great for us, obviously. Christian, I'm going to give you Matt Sells. I think he's in a bit of a purple patch. I might be right in saying he's got the most clean sheets this season with 7, which is an absolute turn up for the Bucks.
Yeah, monstrous yesterday. Again, I'm glad that people are sort of saying as good as Murillo and Milenkovic has been, obviously when the third M comes into Morata as well, it sort of closed the whole thing down. It's just nice knowing that you've got a reliable goalkeeper behind them. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm doing a disservice to his save from Johnson when obviously from close range, but maybe he's just saving so much now that it sort of feels like that's pretty customary for him. He was brilliant yesterday, Sells. I thought his distribution was good as well. It looked like it's just like I said before, when he came in last season after the worst goalkeeper in the club's history, Matt Turner, he just added such a calm presence to that back line. And I think having Milenkovic there as well just helps so much. Like that as a core sort of unit, like Murillo, Sells and Milenkovic, it's just, it must be so tough for teams because they know now they get through, getting past Murillo Milenkovic is going to be hard enough as is. I mean, yesterday was perfect testament to that because Tottenham, top scorers in the league, seriously struggled. But once you actually get past them, you've still got a keeper on form to actually try and get past as well. He'll probably have a player of the month again, Sells. And, I honestly reckon that save from Johnson in the first half, that'll probably have to stay for the month as well. And there's a good chance he wins both. He was brilliant yesterday. Fair play to him. I'm really happy he's got a song now. I know I've been a bit critical of him this season, especially after there was a Newcastle game and
Brighton.
Brighton. No, yeah, that too. But I wasn't on the pod for that. It was Newcastle and who did we have after that? We held 3 to them, and it was Arsenal, wasn't it? Third Arsenal goal, the one that the kid scored. And I think like you said before, Adam, he is. Obviously, we might have thought he's a mid-table goalkeeper, and he's going to have periods where he's going to be above and below that. Right now, he does seem to be way above that, and we're starting to see the goalkeeper that all the Strasbourg fans fell in love with. He was brilliant yesterday. So I was really, really, really pleased with him in a minute.
I think it's really telling when we've got our trio, and we've had that since pretty much since after the Bournemouth game, because Milenkovic was weirdly suspended, wasn't he? And then you look at Tottenham, who have got a proper makeshift three there as that like trifecta, if you want to call it that, and the benefits and reward we're getting from having that consistency this season has just been so brilliant to watch and unfold of us, because you always love like watching attackers as footballers, but we've really enjoyed watching defenders defend this season, which has been very strange but also brilliant, because that's why we're so high up in the league. Reece, I'm going to give you Anthony Elanga, who is quite clearly in a purple patch. Long may it continue.
Yeah, just before we speak about Elanga, obviously there you mentioned about their makeshift defence. Have still spent more money on that than we have on Milenkovic, Murillo and Sells. So it's down to recruitment, isn't it? Tottenham could have signed Murillo. Tottenham could have signed Milenkovic. I'm sure if they would have come in for them two ahead of us, they probably would have signed them. But and just to touch on your point, Christian, unfortunately, made the save of the month's done into with Martinez.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
Yeah. So as good as Souls was yesterday, I think
he's going to get unlucky for another month, isn't he? Because if you remember when we played Chelsea, he made that outrageous save from point blank in the same game. I think Sanchez won it from the Jota header, didn't he? So,
and then every time I watch Sanchez since, he's pretty useless.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to stay out. So he's with England's number one on 7, isn't he, with Pickford? So yeah, you know what's going to happen on in a couple of days' time. But we'll get back to Elanga. Yeah, just so pleased for him. You know, 3-3. That's kind of took that. He's kind of took that pressure away from Ante, because he was getting some stick, and some of it was, as much as like me and Lee defended him, some of it was fair. He wasn't at the level he was last season. It's just that those who go over the top saying he's SHIT, he's this, he's that, we should have sold him on deadline day, when I guarantee if we had sold him on deadline day, there would have been an absolute meltdown, because at that point we didn't know what Jota was going to be like. We didn't know what Sousa was going to be like. We probably still don't really. So for me, he had to stay, and he'd be staying now for the rest of the season. And it's something, if obviously this is Newcastle come back in, and something you'd revisit in the summer, because, just some of the nonsense like, he's, like his head's been turned, his head's down. Well, he's always one of the main ones when you see on, the dressing room spirit. He's always there, and he's one of Ola Aina's sons, him and Hudson-Odoi, and Ola says. So, just so pleased that he's kind of come through that rough patch, and 3-3. And he took his goal brilliantly well yesterday. And it's not like you dog. He's not a slouch, is he? And he's outrunning, got to the ball, and he's just a little, like I said earlier, deft touch is all it needed past 4. So it kind of reminded me of the goal what Blackstock scored past Newcastle all them years ago, where he just like touched it by, I think it was Steve Harper in goal for him. And it's like the defence, as much as it's just trickling in, the defence just ain't going to get there. So, yeah, long may it continue. I really hope he can continue this. And, yeah, because it's good for us, isn't it? But I like Lang. I think he's a really good player. And like I said earlier, I'm just repeating himself a bit. He's a typical young winger. They're going to go through stages when they're probably not performing, but they're going to go through peaks, and like they are now. And you can't keep swapping the team around, and because it's not like we're 4th bottom, is it? We're in a good position, so you can't keep making changes. I mean, me and Lee had a bit of a conversation on Twitter with someone who wanted like Hudson-Odoi dropped. It's like, why? We don't need wholesale changes. So, yeah, long may it continue, and hopefully he can score on whatever it is against Everton, because they tried to sign him, didn't they, when we was in for him? I think he chose us over them, so that'd be nice for him.
One refreshing thing that I've noticed with players like Elanga and him coming back into form is, I've said that one of my bugbears is, obviously we kind of bit on that one, Reece, on Twitter, because I think the terminology used was he's been miles off it. With 3rd in the Premier League, no one's miles off it. No. Likewise with Elanga. When Elanga was going through his, I don't want to say poor, because he wasn't poor, but when he was out of form a little bit, people said he's not good enough to start for us anymore. Not good enough to start for us anymore. He's under 22 and he's got like the 2nd most goal contributions, but all of a sudden he's not good enough to. Thankfully, that those sort of comments and those knee-jerk statements have ceased a little bit, and that is one of the refreshing aspects of being where we are in the league. It's just not good enough to start for us anymore. What, because he had a bad 4 months?
It's just modern day football on social media, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really annoying.
You have one bad game, all of a sudden you need to be dropped, and you have one good game, and you're God. I said
3 bad games, and you should be playing in League One. Apparently, it's just ridiculous.
I said this to you guys yesterday. For those who, if anybody's watching, have watched the Copa 90 Argentina documentary, there was a fan on there who said if Messi won the World Cup, which obviously he did, it'd be a saying. He says if he loses, he said he'll be in the ground. That is social media in a nutshell. So, but yeah, I'm glad he's playing well for the club.
I mean, if Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, and then maybe Anderson, because he's probably the closest of a player in our squad, can all contribute to 10 goals or more this season, then there's no reason why we're not going to be right up there. I did want to ask you all a bit of a question before we do get into your European kind of tracker race, as you were calling it now. But when do we start changing the lyrics for Callum Hudson-Odoi songs from Thursdays to Wednesdays or Tuesdays? Lee Clark, I'll start with you.
No, not yet. I mean, not to be a glass half empty sort of person, but there's still a long way to go. There's still, don't get me wrong, it's great that, what I would say is it's great that we have played a lot of the tougher away fixtures in this league. They're out of the way in the first half of the season, so that is positive. I don't know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we've played everyone once. After Sunday, we played everyone once, and then we've got it all to go again. So you just don't know. But what I would say is that we're playing. I think for a little while, people were kind of thinking, oh, Forest have got a bit lucky so far. They've not really played anyone yet. Look at the fixtures in December. Let's see where they are then. Well, we've only got one of those fixtures left, and we're currently 3rd with Arsenal to play this evening, and they should win. So let's say we're 4th. We're currently 4th. So, Alan Pardew, I'm looking at you, actually, who said we were lucky to be where we were. And it won't last because we're just not good enough to do it after 38 games. Well, he said that after 9 games. We've now played another 9. We're still there. So, there is a possibility that, I mean, I've already started looking at the gap between us and 8th, because obviously you need to finish 8th as a minimum for Europe, don't you? So, yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean I think we're going to finish in the top 8, but I think it's a nice little thing to have a look at, especially now there is a little gap emerging. So it's tricky in terms of the lyrics to the song. I'd probably keep it at Thursday because it sounds better for the song. But I don't know what's after 2 years in the Prem and narrowly staying up in both form, why can't we be a little bit more excitable? And it's fun when you win all the time, isn't it? I know there were jokes on the way, it's getting a bit boring this now, and I'm sick of hearing this status quo song. But no one is. It's just nice we're not going down. We're 22 points clear of the relegation zone, and now we can start to change the expectations a little bit and aim a bit higher. So, yeah, why not? Let's just enjoy it while it lasts, because it's the Prem. At the end of the day, what you've got to remember is it's the Prem. One defeat on Sunday, for example, doesn't all of a sudden mean we're now really bad. If we go and lose the next one as well at Wolves, and then we've got Liverpool after that, it's the Prem. You might lose 3 on the trot. I'm sure that when Brighton have been qualifying for Europe in the last 2 or 3 seasons, they will have had periods in their season where they might have gone 3 or 4 games without a win. It doesn't necessarily mean we've got to panic and, we're going to finish bottom half again. This team has proven now, time and time again, that we're good enough to compete in that top half of the division. So, yeah, why not keep dreaming?
Yeah. I mean, Reece, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, well, when we get songs off the ground at Forest, I don't want to confuse people too much and start changing lyrics. So, yeah, keep it as it is. But, I said this a few weeks back, and I got some stick for it on Twitter when I said that it was already safe. Well, I think I can reaffirm that now, because we're only 2 points off what we got last season, and the other teams just aren't going to. You're relying on other teams to go on a ridiculous winning streak or at the bottom. So that's it. I think the main objective for this season was obviously the first priority was to make sure we're safe with a decent hand of games. Well, it's all right. We've only got 20 left. So we've done that, in my opinion. There might be some doom gloomer out there who say we're not, but that's whatever. So now you just got to enjoy the ride, aren't you, and see how far it takes us. Obviously, if we do keep on this, curve, this upward curve, then it is going to get to, the back end of the season. You're going to think, oh, Jesus, like I said earlier, where are we actually going to finish and what competition could we get in? So at this stage, you just got to keep enjoying it. Like I said, we've done the main objective of the season, which was not to be in any sort of danger, going into the last few weeks of the season like it was last season, where, we was relying on bloody plucky Luton to fold every week, which they did. So, yeah, just enjoy it. And something can I mention as well. Obviously, Tottenham fans were really upset about Ryan Yates yesterday. He only made one foul. It just made him for it. Yeah, it wasn't even that bad. So I don't know why there was moaning so much about it.
And it wasn't even like typically when you play like the Tottenham, there's usually one player, isn't there, who Yates sticks to and winds up. Obviously, he's done it to Enzo, he's done it to McAllister. None of Tottenham's midfielders were interested. It was a bit like the Newcastle game. In the first 15-20 minutes, I actually thought, oh, God, this is going to be like the Newcastle game where he's going to try and push the buttons and they're just going to throw it back in his face and it's not going to work. I didn't understand the Twitter stuff. I don't know, he must just have one of them faces in the eyes of the opposition, I suppose. I don't know.
I guess it's maybe from last season where obviously him and Maddison were at it, weren't they? I guess might be partly, but I didn't think
he was much worse than Yates yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
He was dreadful.
Christian hit the nail on the head. He'd come on like he basically had a bust up with Ange at half time and just wanted to start attempting GBH on folks. So yeah.
Christian, I listened to the Sports Bar this morning, like a brief clip of Cundy and O'Hara, and O'Hara has actually given us a lot of credit, saying like we're a good team, we're well organised, and Cundy's like, it's got to stop surely. And I think most supporters and pundits and everyone up and down the country will probably be thinking the same. But whilst we're defending how we are and how we're set up, and we can hurt teams on the counter attack, there's no reason why the second half of the season can't be almost mirrored. If maybe we'll have a little dip, we don't know, because we don't know what we're going to do in January. That's the exciting thing, I think, of all of this, really, regardless of the result against Everton on Sunday, because they are another bogey side that we've got to play. So what do you make of what's going to happen second half of the season? Do you think it can carry on?
I mean, it's difficult to say. I think recently, I had last week, really, when he said that, Forest are having this really good start. It's like, we're nearly halfway through the season now. This isn't a good start anymore. Like, this is a prolonged spell of, like, good results. So, I mean, why not? Like, as the video says before the game, I hope anyone isn't stupid enough to write us off. You just never know in football. You just never know. And, like, I think while you've got United's basically battling relegation, while you've got Spurs with a clueless clown of a manager like Ange, you've got Villa who are sort of juggling Europe and the Prem. And to be fair, up until yesterday, were doing a pretty good job of that. But and obviously you've got Newcastle, who seems to be like very hot or weirdly cold. Like, they put together a very good run of form now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost 2 of their next 3 games, for example. They're just a very strange team. While you've got all these things sort of going off in the background, you do sort of think like, well, we're just chipping away. We're just doing what we can do. And, we are doing, I know it's a massive cliche, but we just have to look at it one game at a time. I agree. What Lee said before was perfect. Like, it is very possible that we could draw or lose at Everton. Everton have got an outstanding defence. And now Brantwaite's back. I mean, we'll cover this in our preview with Jay. Now Brantwaite's back, they do seem to be back to a pretty sturdy best. The goal they considered yesterday was a bit of a fluke, and they should have beaten City, really. So, they're starting to show signs of revival. Wolves obviously got a new manager bounce. I know obviously they played a poor team in Leicester and just as poor a team in United and won both, but you still can only play what's in front of you. So, and they've scored 5 goals, conceded none, so they're going to be full of confidence. And obviously we've got Liverpool, which depending on how things go, could be a title 6-pointer. So you just never know. No, I think just enjoy it, really. I mean, I wasn't too keen on sort of hitting the we're safe button like Reece was up until now, really, because we're on 34 points now. I don't think any of the newly promoted sides will get 34 points, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I think that's one thing you can probably sort of lightly chalk across, saying like we're pretty much there. So yeah, why not? Why can't we dream about going far? And even if it did come, like we had a dip second half of the season, let's say we aren't winning as many games. even if we came like 7th or 8th and we got into the Conference League, how great would that be? And how great would that be going to like places like Latvia and, you know, places like that for like to watch European football with Forest in a competition we could feasibly win as well in the Conference League? Because, you know, that's very possible. Given what's in there, you only really start to play teams of any real sort of like you look at and think, oh, they're good about the quarterfinal stage. So you never know. Like I think it's just such a lovely time to be a Forest fan because after so many years of just turgid awfulness, like we're now at a stage now where you can actually start to dream again, and we're starting to be where, like, we'll all get this because obviously we're of, I say, a certain age. We're all in our 30s, give or take, aren't we? So we'd have grown up with Forest being diabolical, and with elders telling us about how good the good days were. We might actually get a taste of what the good days are actually like if we keep going on this trajectory. Why not? Why can't we? Yeah. And also, I know we missed it in player performances. Morgan Gibbs-White yesterday, 10 out of 10, sensational. England quality performance yesterday.
Yeah, I think what I like about us is we're resolute in defence, but we are a threat going forward, and it's exciting to watch because you're like, right, we're on the counter, and it's like the cavalry are going full pelt. We might get it wrong here and there, and they're the little things we need to adjust. But when we get it right, like we did with the goal, for instance, it's from the edge of our box into the back of the net within about 10 seconds, you'd say. It is absolutely terrifying for teams, and because everyone's just so set on bombing forward and getting players forward, we just reap the benefits of playing on the counter. And it seems like everyone's just forgotten that defending is so key to this silly little game that we all love absolutely watching. I just find it absolutely baffling at how bad the rest of the league are at defending. Other than like the big teams who expect to have all of the ball, if you know what I mean, like Liverpool do. But they still shipped through against Tottenham in a game they won 6-3.
Can I just touch on the Conference League? So I'm looking at the teams who are in that at the odds at the minute. So Chelsea are obviously favourites, which if we used to get in, let's say we got in that, hypothetically speaking, because we can dream, they're favourites, they're not going to be in it. The second team who are in it are Fiorentina. We've signed probably their best centre-half off them. The third team are Real Betis, who are 9th in La Liga. And then the team who are 4th best on the odds are Guimarães, who we signed Jota Silva off. So if we was in that competition, we would be one of the favourites. People might laugh at that because it's a European competition, but we would. Because half the teams, I think like Heidenheim are in it. I think they're 6th favourite. They're near the relegation zone, I think, in the Bundesliga this season.
Yeah, they had a wonder year last year, didn't they, Heidenheim?
You know, Rapid Vienna are 5th favourites. These are the sorts of teams in that. And I know
lovely places to go, though.
Europe. Yeah, some great places.
Austria's great.
Legia Warsaw there in it. Club Cercle Bruges, Copenhagen. Some great sides in there.
Can I just
so go on, Nick.
While you're thinking about the teams, I've just been looking at the previous league table. So just to mark your card, if you're after now we're safe and we're looking for another target, the last 2 seasons you've needed 60 points to finish. 60 points would get you 8th place. Now, you know, when you say 60 points from 34, we're tantalisingly close to that, I think. I think that's this squad, this group of players, that is more than a decent benchmark to aim for, I think.
The only worry for me is, obviously, I said this to you guys privately with Europe, is that obviously if teams outside that top 8 was to win a cup, which is possible at the minute.
So I wish I'd finished top 4 instead then. Don't worry about it. Bring on Real Madrid.
No, we'll probably finish 4th, and then a load of teams behind us will probably win all cups, and we'll end up probably
68 points last season got you in the Champions League.
Wow. It's top 5 this season, it'll be.
Of course it is, yeah. So for anyone that doesn't follow us on Twitter, please do so and follow us and drop a like on YouTube. That goes a long way to helping us. Reese has been making this little spreadsheet, and I'll let him explain it for audio listeners and viewers, obviously. So Reese, you take it ahead.
Yeah. So obviously you've got these are all the results on the left. The first column after the teams, which are all the results from the season. Look at all them greens on there. They're all the results next on the next column from the same opponents now last season. Now, I know people will be saying, well, we didn't play Ipswich this season. Well, if you look at the key at the top, that's how we've kind of done it. So obviously Burnley were the champions, so we replaced them with Leicester. Ipswich finished 2nd in the Championship, so we replaced them with Sheffield United. And obviously Saints and Luton have won the playoffs. The third column is the pluses from what we've got against the same opponents last season. So that means we're 13 points better than from the same opponents last season. Obviously, we turned around that result against Spurs yesterday. The next column is the game weeks from last season. So as you can see there, you can see that spell on the Coupe where we won 1 in 13. Obviously, last season is where against Tottenham, the same game week as where we lost against Bournemouth on the Nuno's first game. So from the stage from where we are at last season is that we're 20 points now better off than at this stage last season, which is absolutely crazy. Like I said earlier, whatever happens at Everton in a couple of days' time, we will be in the top 4 at the halfway stage. And just some extra stats. Obviously, Adam mentioned earlier that we've now kept 7 clean sheets this season, which is the same as Everton and Jordan Pickford. Just some of them clean sheets. One was away at Liverpool, who probably the best team in the world at the minute. Let's be honest. One was away at Brentford, who had the best home record in the league at that stage. I'm not sure if that's still true. Probably might be Liverpool now. And also one was yesterday at home to Spurs, who before yesterday were the highest scorers in the league. So just goes to show how good the defence has been. And the final stat I'll give you is there's now 4 teams from this Premier League roster this season who would fail to beat Wolves and Everton, who obviously are next to your fixtures. Manchester City, I'm not going to start talking about that game a few weeks back. And yeah, also Bournemouth, I also believe we play in January, don't we? So yeah, just 4 left to beat. So,
Nuno's got this habit of like breaking trends at the moment this season. I think I saw a match of the day. It was the 14th game we've scored first, which is a league high this season.
Yeah,
that's absolutely ridiculous. So I mean, I think me and you, Christian, had a bit of an argument earlier this season, like, oh, we're scoring goals first, but then not holding on to leads. But we are now scoring goals first and holding on to leads. Like, it's
nice, isn't it? This is what could be possible if you hold on to them.
I'd rather be the team trying to hold on than the team chasing. I tell you that, because I watched Spurs yesterday try and pass the ball around and not do bloody anything with it, and I just laughed at them because I was like, "You've got no chance. We've locked the gates and threw away the key." And then
it's when we bring Morata on, isn't it? When obviously we're winning, he's not conceded. I know he conceded at Manchester City, but we were behind in that game. So I'm guessing he's not conceded when we've been winning, when he's been on the pitch.
No, he's getting a great win bonus.
He obviously played at Brentford and a clean sheet bonus of that as well.
And all these numbers are pointing in the right direction. We've seen it when Nuno come in last season, that if we'd had him from the start of the season, we'd have finished comfortably mid-table. And now look at us. We're just absolutely living in dreamland. And yeah, wow. I can't quite believe it. I can't fathom it. I can't speak, as Wayne Mardle said last year at the PDC, one with the 2 9 darters. No, it's great. And we're going to move just swiftly into Everton before we finish, guys. Lee, I'll start with yourself. A tough team to play against. They've kept 5 clean sheets, I think, in their last 6 games, I think it is. And Pickford, obviously, England's number 1, as Reece mentions, made a penalty save from Erling Haaland, a terrible penalty, to be honest. But I thought Everton were good value for the win. I know they drew, but I think they should have won. They got some decent players, but I don't really fear them at all. I just hope VAR's working this season at Goodison Park. I know they like shutting shop and everything and moving to, is it Bramley Moor, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed I'm not going, actually, because obviously it's the last time we'll play at Goodison, isn't it? The loudest boos I've ever heard in a football ground at Goodison. The Theatre of Boos, it should be nicknamed. I've never known a bunch of home fans boo as much as Everton's. What I would say on that basis is I think if we score first in this game, we will win. That's the key. I probably said something similar last year when we played them away, to be fair. I just think they're very organised under Dyche. Dyche does seem to have our number a little bit, doesn't he? Probably because he spent every week watching us when he was out of work, to be honest. But I think it's again, they're all winnable games when you're fourth in the Prem. You've got to be feeling confident going into it. So I think I'm going to go positive. I think we'll win. I think we will get that first goal. I think the crowd will turn a little bit because it's what they do. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. And I think their goal will come as like a late consolation. Yeah, I'll go for a 2-1 win.
Fair enough. Christian?
I'm gonna go 0-0. I think. It's gonna be one for the defensive purists out there. I think Sunday. I do wonder though, because obviously they have had a pretty rough run, didn't they? Was it Chelsea, Arsenal, and City? Obviously, drawn all three, conceded 1 goal, which is very impressive. But I do wonder whether they will, maybe because they're at home and against a team they'll see as a bit more winnable in those 3 games, whether they sort of push the boat out a little bit. But it does seem as Everton have quite a few issues attacking this season. So given how we're defending, I can't really see that changing too much. So yeah, I'm going to go for 0-0. Well, and that wouldn't be a bad result either. That wouldn't be a bad result.
No, I think it still keeps the ball rolling, doesn't it? It keeps adding to the tally on the league table. Reece, what about yourself?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Christian. I think it's got a bit of a 0-0 feel to it because you've got 2 really good defences, 2 really good goalkeepers in form. I know people scorn at Jordan Pickford, but he is a good goalkeeper in my opinion. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was 0-0, and it also wouldn't surprise me if it's a 1-0 either way, where a bit of controversy like last season. I think it just kind of got that feeling. It wouldn't surprise me if it actually went in our favour after last season. So because Christian's gone for a 0-0, I'm going to go and say we'll nick it 1-0, and Hudson-Odoi will get it, seeing as he was the one who kept getting chopped down last season. I might have a little bet on that 1-0 Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards 1-0. I just think like maybe a bit of quality, and then our defensive resolution and everything else will come into fruition. Morato coming out on at 70 minutes and seeing the game out. I know no Ryan Yates this Sunday, so might be a bit of a reshuffle, and it'll be interesting to see how Nuno goes against Dyche. And I know Dyche has had Forest number a lot of the time, especially since we've come up. So
just to mention, Adam, as well, I'm just looking at Everton's home form at the minute. So they've not lost in 6 at home, but out of them they've got 4 draws and 3 of them have been 0-0. So it's probably like I've just said with Hudson-Odoi 1-0. Set pieces will be a big factor. We've got to make sure. I know we've been really good at set pieces this season. We've got to make sure we deal with that, because that is Sean Dyche's kind of game, isn't it? But set piece, I think Calvert-Lewin's back into, so he obviously can. He's good in the air when he's fit.
Yeah, Bransway as well.
So I think it's going to be a very tight game personally.
Possible good omen as well. John Brooks is on VAR. He was on VAR for the Villa game. And obviously, everyone was saying Rodgers should have had a penalty and Anderson was a foul.
So he's going to get one against us, then, is he? Who's the referee, Lee?
Tony Harrington.
Probably.
Well, I just think there's going to be it's going to be a tough game, but I think we've got more than enough quality about us to win this game, and it's a game we shouldn't fear anyone really. I don't see anyone in this league that I'm really that worried about, especially away from home. We just seem to travel around the country extremely well at the moment. I do hope to hear. Was it the Lion sleeps tonight in the away end? I mean, that would be brilliant. Another win away would be quality.
Just to mention,
and a great way to end the year. Go on.
Harrington refed us for the Ipswich game. Just had a quick look. Was his last game?
Right. Gave us a penalty, so that's nice.
Gave us a pen, yeah. So Everton are going to get a pen, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to end it there and wrap it up. I think it's been a lovely time here. Hopefully, a great end to the year with another 3 points and cementing us firmly into the top 4 or maybe top 3 if Arsenal have a bit of a blip. I can't see it happening against Ipswich, to be honest. But you never know. Football's a very strange game. Yeah, this league is weird, man. I mean, as Fulham and Bournemouth are absolutely taking it by storm. The class of 21-22. But
it's not that weird that Ipswich are getting anything at the Emirates. I'm sorry, it's not that weird. It's not. I watched the highlights of Ipswich's game against Newcastle at the weekend. It's not that weird, sadly yet.
I'd be amazed if they got anything there. So I hope they did. But then we'll probably get some doom gleamers saying, "Oh, Ipswich have gained some points on us in the relegation battle."
Who will Darren Bent be rooting for? He backed Ipswich to finish 7th. He's an Arsenal fan, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But no, thank you very much for everyone joining us. We had about 120 people. If you can drop a like and a subscribe, that will really help us. Follow us on Twitter and Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff. Leave us some reviews. It all helps. And I hope you all have a great great game, great day on Sunday. Hopefully we've won. We'll be back on Monday. I'm assuming to go through it all. But until then, we'll see you next time. And come on, you Reds.